afternoon, El Dorado. Happy May. It's so nice to see you back for one of our last few episodes of Lunchtime Live. I'm really grateful that so many of you have been tuning in each week for the past few months. It's been a lot of fun to do this with you, and I hope you've been enjoying them on your Mondays while you're at home. As I mentioned last week, in the month of May, we're going to be focusing on the idea of making, creating. And we're going to be reading and talking about kind of like different inventors and people who have created things based on just sort of interesting ideas they've had and what that process is like to create something, because it's not always easy to make something. And we're going to use that term making or maker a lot. And really what that's all about is having an idea and experimenting and trying to create from different types of materials, sometimes electronics, and using computers and coding. It could be using just cardboard. It could be, but really it's all about your imagination. And we're talking about that process of trying something out, maybe making a mistake or realizing that it doesn't work, and trying it again, and going back and trying to adjust and taking all the things you've learned and seeing if you can improve on your ideas. That's what this month is all about as far as our Lunchtime Live goes. And your classes will be coming down for some fun maker activities here in the library. We're going to be doing a maker playground where you'll have some choices of some really fun activities to engage with. So look forward to that this month. Today, I thought it would be really fun to start off our maker-themed books with this one right here. I just got this into the library. This is called Just Like Rube Goldberg. And this is written by Sarah Aronson and illustrated by Robert Neubecker. And I wanted to share this one with you because the Rube Goldberg machines, which we'll talk about more in a second, are some of my favorite things in the world. They are so fun and so silly and so crazy that you can't help but love them. And we're going to read about this guy today named Rube Goldberg. He was a cartoonist, but what he was really known for were these crazy machines he built. He would design machines that would take a simple task. For example, I don't know, brushing your teeth or cutting a hole in a donut. And he would come up with the most complicated, most ridiculous way of completing that job, completing that task. So something that could be done really easily, right? Maybe the job is putting salt on your food. He would design a machine that would be this crazy contraption that did all these unnecessary things just to put a little bit of salt on the plate. And he would just have lots of fun inventing and designing these machines. So today we're reading Just Like Rube Goldberg, the incredible true story of the man behind the machines. But before we read this book, friends, I thought I would show you an example of what would be considered a Rube Goldberg machine. These machines are named after Rube Goldberg, who kind of started this whole thing. But really, they are also known as chain reaction machines, where you start the machine and one thing that happens leads to the next thing, which leads to the next thing, and it keeps triggering all sorts of things in the machine to happen. You may not really understand what I'm talking about, so I want to show you a video that will give you an example. This is from a YouTube channel named Joseph's Machines. I hope you enjoy.
This machine was dedicated to all the PB&J sandwich lovers out there who love them as much as I do. And a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. Without your contributions, these videos would truly not be possible. I'm going to read out some names. Sorry for the terrible pronunciation. Bob Stromberg, Iskander Smith, Vincenzo Terraconi, Timmy Alexander Shoes, Matthew Byrne, A. Robertson, Greg Giannis, Raphael Cartanima, Larry English, the Valentine family, Mattia Mazzi, Bodie and Calvin Hula, Catherine Tucson, Charlie, Patty and Rufus, Dennis Healy.
How awesome was that? If you enjoyed that video, you could look up Joseph's Machines on YouTube. He has a ton of amazing machines. That was one of his more famous ones where he had a machine to create a sandwich for him. But he has machines that do all sorts of different tasks for him. So super fun. And hopefully you saw how each piece of the machine triggers the next piece. So that is really what a Rube Goldberg machine is. It's a silly, fun machine that takes a simple job and makes it really complicated, only just so you can have fun with it. We're going to read this book, and I'm going to put this one under the camera so you can see it better because the illustrations really help demonstrate some of the things that we're talking about today. So let's switch over to our other camera. All right, friends. So this is the book Just Like Rube Goldberg, written by Sarah Aronson, illustrated by Robert Newbecker. The incredible true story of the man behind the machines. And what we see here on the inside cover are some actual sketches from Rube Goldberg. So you can see remember he was a cartoonist. So these are some of the drawings he made of complicated machines. This is a machine to hail a streetcar, which was almost like a way of getting around, like a taxi. This is a machine to help lick a postage stamp in a sanitary or clean way. He would come up with all these wacky machines. Let's learn about Rube Goldberg. Question: how do you become a successful, award-winning artist and famous inventor without ever inventing anything at all? This is not a trick question. A man named Rube Goldberg did it. In a funny way, his life was just like one of his famous inventions, an improbable and inefficient chain reaction that ends up making perfect sense. From the time he was a boy, Rube Goldberg loved to draw. We're not just talking about simple stuff here. As early as 4 years old, Rube traced the cartoons he found in his books. At 11, he took official art classes from a sign painter. Rube might have been a quiet boy. He might have been shy, but he was determined to be a great cartoonist for a big-time newspaper. Unfortunately, when he told his family, they were absolutely horrified, beyond dismayed. Rube's father, Max, had emigrated from Germany to America to give his family a chance for a better life. He didn't want his son to end up a beggar on the streets. So, to please his father, Rube went to the University of California, Berkeley, studied engineering, and after graduation, got a job with the City of San Francisco Department of Water and Sewers. It was a good job. It paid well. That could have been the end of the story, right? Wrong. Rube detested shoveling tunnels in mines 2,000 feet underground. He didn't enjoy mapping sewer pipes either, and he wasn't very impressed with the city's government. Rube still wanted to draw comics for a big-time newspaper. So after 6 months, he quit engineering and started over. You could see the words on this page were designed in a really fun and interesting way too. Rube Goldberg's machines are really all about thinking outside the box, thinking differently about solving problems. So he got a job at the San Francisco Chronicle. For $8 a week, Rube emptied wastebaskets, cleaned the floors, and filed photographs in the document morgue. And whenever he had a chance, Rube drew. and drew and drew. Day after day, Rube submitted his cartoons to the editor. Night after night, the editor mostly said no. When he said yes, Rube sometimes got paid, but other times he just got out of the office, tasks he didn't like to do. After a year, Rube convinced the sports department of the San Francisco Bulletin to hire him, and after that, he was a little more successful. He developed his style. The paper ran his cartoons. A column, too. This might have been the next end of the story, but then the ground shook. Literally. Rube certainly did not give up on his dream, right? The 1906 earthquake in San Francisco crumbled the city and left many people without jobs and homes. In the wake of disaster, it can be hard for people to focus on their dreams. It can be even harder to feel hopeful. But Rube didn't give up on his dream. Instead, he did the only thing he could do. He drew comics to cheer people up. And then he made a big decision. In 1906, there was only one place where a guy like Rube could really make it big. It was the place he called the Front Row, the cartoon capital of the country, New York City. So he got on a train and headed east. He didn't have much, $200 and a diamond ring. The ring was a gift from his father, just in case Rube needed to sell it to buy a ticket back home. After 12 days of pounding the pavement, lugging his art from newspaper to newspaper, Rube did it. He got a job as a cartoonist at a big-time paper, the New York Evening Mail. He had made it. Right off the bat, Rube became a celebrity. Readers couldn't wait to see what he had to say about all kinds of things. Like sports, and politics, and the silliness of everyday life. But maybe more than anything else, everyone loved reading about Rube's alter ego. That's like a kind of a different personality he created, a different kind of pretend person. Professor Lucifer Gorgonzola Butts. The eccentric professor invented one intricate machine after another, and none of them were straightforward. In fact, they were the opposite of straightforward and often disregarded the laws of physics. Although this was the age when new machines were being invented to make life easier, Rube's screwball contraptions purposefully solved problems in the most surreal and ridiculous ways. Things like, how do you put holes in donuts? You can see this picture here. There's a goat with a carrot, tugs on a string, makes this ghost kind of come up on a lever that scares the bird, that makes it drop a chicken into this archer's hat, and he shoots an arrow at a target, which then makes a cannonball pop up right through the donut. That's a pretty complicated way to put a hole in a donut, don't you think? Or, how do you turn off a light? You can see, starting with A here, the professor has a banana on a fishing pole. A monkey gets excited and jumps on this kind of inflatable pouch that makes the wheels of this fan spin, which turns the wheels of a bike, which turns this pulley that turns the jack in the box, that knocks the bucket over, drops a bowling ball onto a seesaw, which makes this kid jump up and grab the light. Whew, that is a fun and silly machine. Or even, how do you cut your own hair? You can follow here, starting with the cat chasing the mouse onto this like punching bag thing that makes the rocking chair move, which pulls this bag up on this pulley system here and pushes the button that makes this hand go, and it moves this boot, which kicks this guy's rear end, which moves this pulley, which eventually lifts the goat, who chomps off a little bit of his hair. There's a lot to soak in. If you enjoy this book and you want to look at these drawings some more, I encourage you to check it out from our library so you could spend some more time with these. Just like the machines he studied in engineering school, these complicated contraptions require lots and lots of parts. And they always worked. On paper, of course. They weren't practical in the real world, but that was never the point. Rube Goldberg didn't draw machines that solved real-world problems. He drew comics to make us look closer and question logic and tickle the imagination. And because of that, these machines accomplished something astounding and more important than any pile of nuts and bolts ever could. They challenged people to use the most amazing machine in the universe. The brain. So let's take it from the top. Rube Goldberg became a stubborn, smart, serious about being funny engineer, office boy, cartoonist, commentator, comic genius, and award-winning artist and inventor whose name is now an adjective in the actual dictionary without inventing a thing. Is this kind of thing still possible? You bet it is. Figure out what you want. Work as hard as you can. And most of all, have a great time getting there. Just like Rube Goldberg. The end. So friends, that was Just Like Rube Goldberg. A really, really interesting guy. And the machines that he created and the machines that other people still are creating, like the guy on the YouTube channel, he's inspired so many people to be creative and think differently about solving problems. And I hope you do the same. All right, friends. So that is the end of our story this week. Do a little searching online. Maybe ask people if they've heard of a Rube Goldberg machine. Maybe design your own machine that does something, maybe something that didn't need to be done in a complicated way, but have fun thinking of a complicated way to solve that problem, to do that thing. It's just a lot of fun to think like that, and I hope you enjoy it. When you come down to the library for our Maker Playground, you're going to have an opportunity to work with your friends, to use your imagination to build things, to solve problems as you go, and that's just a really great set of skills to develop as a person. Have a wonderful afternoon, a wonderful week. I will see you soon.